Hurricane Nicole is making landfall along the Florida coastline. Good morning. It's about 3:15 in the morning Eastern Time on this Thursday morning as we watch a hurricane make landfall in the United States. I'm Mike Nasa with the latest tropical video update coverage. There's Nicole on the radar, and it is starting to have a more ragged appearance, but clearly has an eye, and right there, the center of the center, making landfall very close to Vero Beach, Florida. We have the latest Hurricane Center update as of 3 a.m. Eastern Time. Nicole makes landfall along the east coast of Florida, just south of Vero Beach. Radar imagery from Miami and Melbourne shows that the center of Nicole made landfall on the east coast of Florida on North Hutchinson Island, just south of Vero Beach, with winds of 75 miles per hour, so it's a Category 1 hurricane, and the pressure is estimated at 981 millibars, and that is the last hourly update given the degraded radar structure of Nicole. And that location was about 15 miles north-northwest of Fort Pierce, so it came in a little north of Fort Pierce, and it's at 27.6 north, 80.4 west, again 75 miles an hour, 981 millibars, moving west-northwest at 14, and it is a U.S. hurricane landfall. Look at that wind field with Nicole. Tropical storm conditions all the way from South Carolina to areas there south of where the hurricane made landfall along the Florida east coast, and that's now spreading all the way into the western areas of Florida and the Panhandle. Very, very gusty winds, but we also have high water rises, and that, along with the high pressure to the north, will cause beach erosion and a lot of crashing waves. Look at these wave heights we're seeing here on some of the observations off Cape Canaveral. As of 1:40 in the morning, wave heights close to 32 feet. That is very, very serious impacting waves that will be crashing along the Florida East Coast as Nicole comes ashore. To say nothing of the winds, look at this, wind gusts as of 3 a.m., 81 miles per hour, and this is near Kennedy Space Center. So even though that might be a little elevated, these are hurricane force winds, 75, 75, 68, 74, 76, 74, 81. Hurricane force gusts, I haven't seen sustained there yet, but we're getting close. 63 sustained, gusting to 81. So this is clearly a Category 1 hurricane making a U.S. landfall, and it is having widespread impacts across the state of Florida. Here's another look at the radar, and watch the northwest turn there at the end. See that? It clearly bumped northwest. Watch that again. It was moving west, a little north of west, and then it kind of dragged north. And so it did come ashore there near Vero Beach, north of Fort Pierce. But a lot of heavy weather here on the northern side. So areas that I mentioned before, like the Kennedy Space Center here in Cape Canaveral, is dealing with gusty winds. And we're having those water rises. Fernandina Beach, you guys have had water rises very high. And so a lot of the northern side of the storm, where you have that onshore flow pushing into the coastline, is where we're having a lot of impacts. Now look at this radar of Hurricane Nicole, and look at this radar of Hurricane Aaron. Aaron was a hurricane back in 1995. I remember when I was a kid. Look at how similar they look. Look at that. I mean, they could be twins. Look at that right there. And look at that. Stop it right there. This is Hurricane Nicole, and that's Hurricane Aaron. Very close to the same location, similar radar structure. Now, Aaron, I should note, was a slightly stronger hurricane in August. This is slightly weaker in November. But nevertheless, Vero Beach, you guys don't get hit that often directly, but it looks like tonight you took a direct hit from a hurricane named Nicole. This is the water vapor imagery, clearly dry air impacting the system. It does not look like a hurricane. I mean, the eye of the hurricane is right there on the shoreline, but if you looked at this from afar, you would think, Mike, this is a hurricane? It doesn't have a very good satellite structure, although I'm sure when the visible comes up in the morning, we'll see a more hurricane-type shape to it, even though by then it'll probably be weakened to a tropical storm. And by the way, this is not the ugliest hurricane I've seen. Some people said, wow, Mike, this looks ugly, and yeah, it does in satellite appearance, but it is still a hefty storm with those impacts I told you. And believe it or not, I've seen storms that were hurricanes that looked even worse than this. So don't be fooled by this imagery. We still have a potent hurricane making a landfall there along the Florida East Coast. So again, right now, widespread impacts, waves, storm surge, rainfall, water rises, and gusty winds as Hurricane Nicole makes landfall very close to Vero Beach, Florida at about 3 a.m. Eastern Time here in the United States. I'm Mike Nasa with continuing coverage this morning of Hurricane Nicole making landfall in Florida.